What's up everybody, Kinetic here, and welcome back to Dragon Age Inquisition. In this video we're going to take a look at a Cryomancer build. I've recently did a Pyromancer build, which involved, of course, a lot of fire magic with the Necromancer Specialization. This time we do have still some more dots, but there's a little bit more control in this build, and I kind of like the way that this combines with the recent Lightning Rift Mage that I did. It's pretty interesting when you combine things, for example, like Blizzard with the Static Cage, or Blizzard and Pull of the Abyss and stuff like that. It gets quite fun. Let's take a look at the abilities that I've chosen. This is the first time that I've gone down the Winter line this much. Usually I only go as far as the Winter Stillness and then stop from there, but this time I've gone all the way down to pick up Blizzard, and it's pretty interesting how these skills work, but also, this kind of gives me a little bit of a chance to explain why I haven't done very much Winter in previous mage builds, and that's because, well, really, I don't find it nearly as interesting as the Lightning or the Fire Mage trees for Mage. The Winter line does offer some interesting things, but, well, you'll see what I mean as I kind of go over some of these later abilities in the Winter line. Let's just take it from the top. We have Fade Step, of course, which is kind of like a short-range teleport ability. It allows you to also, like, make curves around obstacles and stuff like that. It's not necessarily a straight line, but a really good tool for escaping enemies. Some people have asked me, why don't I take the upgrade Frost Step? And, well, that's really it, because I'm not trying to go through enemies. I'm trying to go the complete opposite way from enemies and get away as far as I can 90% of the time. So I don't really find the Frost Step to be all that useful most of the time for me. But Winter Stillness is almost always useful in my eyes. By standing still, you enter into a meditative state that restores your mana and at an enhanced rate and reduces all cooldown times. Some people have also asked about this passive. Does that mean they have to stand there and do absolutely nothing? No, it just means that you shouldn't move. Unfortunately, some of the spells that we cast while trying to maintain this Winter Stillness causes like a weird step in the character's animation, which can, in some rare cases, interrupt Winter Stillness, but considering you only have to wait a couple of seconds, it's not really that big of a deal before Winter Stillness will start giving you that enhanced mana generation bonus. Another neat passive that's definitely going to help us out with the Frost abilities we have, Frost Mastery. You have mastered the Calling of Cold, increasing your effectiveness when chilling or freezing targets. So we get an increased duration bonus of 25% for both freezing and chilling effects. This passive is going to work really nicely to enhance our Ice Mine. You mark the ground with a glyph that takes a short time to prime. Once it is ready, it will freeze the first target to step on it. Now, this description is a little bit misleading. It almost makes you think that only one target may be affected by Ice Mine, but just like Fire Mine, it does cause an AoE effect and will freeze anybody in a certain kind of area for 6 seconds. The upgrade for Ice Mine, Brittle Glyph. While frozen, the victim of Ice Mine loses all armor protection. Back towards the bottom we have Ice Armor. You draw on cold magic near you to protect you from attacks. Standing near a frozen enemy or a persistent cold spell reduces all damage you take by 50%. This is going to work really nicely while we are casting, for example, Blizzard. You summon a freezing blizzard to chill and damage enemies caught in the area. This ability is very much like Ring of Pain, and like Ring of Pain, I tend to not use this all the time, if at all. Only for big fights do I see Blizzard being a good spell to use, because it has a 5 mana per second cost, just like Ring of Pain from the Reaver Specialization. This is a massive drain on your resources, and it's like once you've got this started, then you can pretty much kiss casting any other spells goodbye for the next few seconds till it runs out of mana completely to use up, or until you've toggled it off. It is a pretty cool ability overall though, and can definitely work really nicely. Again, kind of going back to talking about my Lightning Rift Mage build, when a Static Cage, for example, is active, you can then cast Blizzard, and they're going to take the damage from Blizzard of 150% weapon damage per second, plus the lightning strikes because they're taking damage in that Static Cage. The upgrade for a Blizzard is Ice Storm. Your Blizzard now chills enemies, progressively slowing them until they are frozen for 4 seconds and increases damage by 75%. Let's take a quick look at the Inferno line. We do start off with taking Immolate, and this can definitely be used for fun and gives us a little bit of variety in terms of our elemental casting abilities. You unleash a massive explosion, leaving enemies in the area burning in agony. 300% weapon damage initially, and then 75% weapon damage per second for 8 seconds. But the real reason we are in the Inferno line, especially, is for the passives Flashpoint and Clean Burn. Flashpoint, after you land a critical hit, your next spell cast doesn't trigger a cooldown period. Again, I've said this in the past, this is a great way that you can cast all sorts of different spells back to back. You can cast Immolates repeatedly, Ice Mines, all sorts of different things with the Flashpoint. Just keep an eye when you see those big numbers pop up, that's you landing a critical hit, and you should see this icon, which means your next spellcast has no cooldown. Down below that, Clean Burn. Every spell you cast shortens your active cooldown times. We aren't casting very frequently, but we are certainly casting often enough to make Clean Burn worth it. Still, and I've had some debates with people about this, whether you take Clean Burn or not, the real issue that most mages have is not in that their spells are on cooldown, is that they are completely lacking having enough mana. Now, there are some cool abilities, some passives here with the Necromancer line, and again, that's why I usually put heavy emphasis on taking this passive for every mage build, but there's also a couple of nice passives here in the Necromancer line that give us some additional mana back, so that way we can cast more often. Let's take it from the top here. Horror. You unleash spirits of fear that terrify all enemies within the area. Panic duration of 6 seconds and has a cooldown time of 24 seconds. Costs 50 mana. Because of the relatively lackluster effects here with Horror, even with the upgrade, which I don't bother with, it's a 50 mana cost spell that I usually only use this when, for example, they may be rushing me. Then I use this kind of defensively to just get enemies away from me, or maybe even protect another ranged fighter or something like that. To the left of that, we have Death Siphon. Every time an enemy dies nearby, you regain both health and mana. Again, this is the passive that I was talking about. A lot of specializations seem to have this for mages, and combining this with Winter Stillness should give us a fairly decent amount of mana back, so that way we can cast spells more often. This is another reason also to stand closer to battles than probably we would normally want to as mages, but with the passives that we have here, like Death Siphon, and for example the, what was it called, the Ice Armor, right? Yeah, Ice Armor from the Winter line, standing close to our battles will actually give us a lot of really nice benefits. You may be worried about taking damage, but if you're running, for example, Vivian in your party with like the Support Knight Enchanter build, with her, she'll probably be there to cover you with barriers often enough. You won't have to sweat it too much being so close. Below Death Siphon, we have Power of the Dead. Killing enemies attracts spirits that increase the power of your spells for a short time. Damage bonus of 20% for a duration of 10 seconds. Again, we don't know what the range of this is, so you're better off making sure that you're standing, I would say, at least 10 meters or so away from an enemy that's dying, just to make sure we take advantage of this passive. And down at the bottom here on the left, we have Spirit Mark. You mark a target with an attacking spirit inflicting ongoing damage. If the target dies while marked, the spirit mimics the victim's body briefly to fight on your behalf. So this spell, when you hit someone with it, is basically a damage over time that causes 150% weapon damage per second for 12 seconds. If they die from that damage or while this mark is active, then they will be charmed to fight for you for 15 seconds. Which is pretty damn short, and so if you're going to even bother taking Spirit Mark, you definitely want to take the upgrade Lingering Mark. Targets you kill with Spirit Mark now fight for you longer and harder, dealing an additional 75% bonus damage, and charm duration 45 seconds. Alright, back up here on the right, we have Blinding Terror. You have learned to leave enemies vulnerable in their terror. Enemies that are panicked take increased damage from all attacks. Damage bonus versus panicked, 15%. This will be a nice additional effect if you happen to be using, for example, Horror, or if you decide to take, for example, Flashfire instead of Immolate. Back over here in the Necromancer Simulacrum. I think that's about as close as I'm ever going to get to pronouncing this right. This is a pretty interesting passive that basically gives you kind of a short life after death to continue casting spells if you are knocked unconscious in battle. And down here on the bottom right, Walking Bomb, you curse an enemy, inflicting ongoing spirit damage just like the Spirit Mark, and then trigger the curse in a devastating explosion. I don't know why these numbers are so weird, but basically it's going to deal a damage over time, and if they should die from the Walking Bomb spell, then it will cause an explosion that, when upgraded, can also deal some pretty interesting damage. Virulent, if Walking Bomb kills your target, the effect spreads to nearby enemies, causing secondary explosions. Now this does have, like the Spirit Mark, also a relatively high mana cost. I tend to wait until I can see an enemy that is about to die or kind of getting close to it and then activate Walking Bomb. I mean, the damage over time is nice, but what we really want is to get them to die while Walking Bomb is active, so that way we can get that explosive damage, and with the upgrade here, it's pretty entertaining. Now you may have noticed that I've actually got Walking Bomb here twice mapped to my PC controller, and that's because I still only have 7 abilities chosen for this build. What I'm thinking of doing later on is picking up maybe either Wall of Ice, which will definitely continue the whole cryo theme, or maybe adding a little bit more fire with Wall of Fire. This was fun, and it also causes panic. If this passive Blinding Terror is working effectively, then that should increase the damage that they take while they are panicked from the Wall of Fire. Another option that you could take is if you don't have another mage, for example Vivian or whatever in your party casting barriers for you, then add barrier to this build and you can have at least one, if not more, barriers being cast for you and your party members. Let's take a look now at a couple quick examples of the Cryomancer build in action.
I can't believe you drank that swill at the tavern.
I can't believe they served that swill at the tavern. What is Skyhold coming to?
Then why did you drink it?
I couldn't stop. With each sip it can't be that bad, can it? Before I knew it, I was analyzing the nuances of its flavor, observing its effect on my nausea. I was in a catatonic trance, fueled by the stench of disgusting dwarven ale.
Or you're a drunkard with terrible taste.
There is that.
Thanks for watching this video on my Cryomancer build here in Dragon Age Inquisition. The Necromancer Specialization is really not the most interesting or powerful specialization for mages. Neither is the Winter line for that matter, but combined I think they make an interesting combination of damage over time and some control effects that if you're looking to scratch that Ice Mage itch, then this is a pretty fun build to play. Coming up later, I've got more videos on specializations, tips and tricks here in Dragon Age Inquisition, and also as soon as we find out more and get a release for the highly anticipated, expected DLC for Dragon Age Inquisition, you can expect to see all that and more here on my channel. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. Click the like button to support these Dragon Age Inquisition videos, and stay subscribed, more is coming up. Thanks again for watching, my name is Kinetic, and I'll see you next time.